United States President Donald Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu unveil a joint peace plan for Gaza, calling for an immediate ceasefire, release of hostages, and exclusion of Hamas from future governance. In response, the Palestinian Authority has welcomed the proposal, terming it sincere and determined. Following the Gaza peace proposal, Qatar has said that it is set to hold talks with its Turkish counterparts to discuss US President Donald Trump's plan. Qatar's foreign ministry spokesperson said that Hamas will study the proposal responsibly. The Arab nations have expressed their support to the 20-point Gaza peace plan proposed by America and Israel, while Italy, Spain, UK and India have also welcomed President Trump's initiative, praising efforts to end violence, release hostages and ensure humanitarian aid. Israel claims documents showing links between activist Mission Aid Flotilla and Hamas. The Israeli Foreign Ministry has explicitly mentioned that the Palestinian Conference for Palestinians, the PCPA, functions as Hamas representative body abroad, operating as Hamas embassies. US President Donald Trump has announced sweeping new tariffs on imported wood products, including lumber, cabinets, furniture, as well as movies, citing national security and economic resilience. The White House has said that the tariff hikes will roll out starting 14th of October. Russian President Vladimir Putin declares Russian forces are prevailing in a righteous battle in Ukraine, emphasizing national unity and determination. Despite the ongoing conflict, Putin vows continued offensive efforts as Russia maintains control over significant Ukrainian territories. Meanwhile, Ukraine reports Russian drone strikes kills family of 4 in Sumy region. Officials confirm attack targeted a residential building in a village in northeast Ukraine. Rescuers have recovered 2 parents and 2 young children following the attack. A building has collapsed at an Islamic boarding school in East Java in Indonesia, trapping dozens of children. 3 students have been reportedly killed in the tragic accident and 8 people have been pulled out of the rubble, while 65 continue to remain missing. Israel's far-right finance minister Bezalel Smotrich has rejected President Donald Trump's Gaza peace plan, calling it a betrayal of lessons from the 7 October Hamas attack. He called the recent celebration absurd and stressed that Israel will consult and decide carefully. Smotrich opposes any agreement that includes Hamas disarmament and a transitional government. Meanwhile, the Kremlin welcomes President Trump's Gaza peace plan and hopes it will bring peace to the Middle East. Russia supported efforts to end the conflict but remains critical of Israel's actions. Moscow also continues to back a 2-state solution to resolve the crisis. In another development, Qatar says that it will hold talks with the Turkish officials over President Donald Trump's Gaza peace plan. Doha's foreign ministry added that Hamas will responsibly review the proposal aimed at ending the conflict and ensuring humanitarian aid.
وعد الوفد التفاوضي بدراستها بمسؤولية، وهو الأمر الذي يتم الآن، وحتى اليوم أيضا سيكون هناك اجتماع آخر بحضور الجانب التركي كذلك مع الوفد التفاوضي. كل ذلك هو بهدف التشاور حول هذه الخطة والدفع باتجاه كما قلنا نهاية لهذه الحرب من خلال هذه الخطة. ما زال الوقت مبكر حتى نتكلم عن ردود، ولكن نحن نتفائل الحقيقة بأن هذه الخطة كما قلنا هي خطة شاملة، والآن يقوم الوفد بدراستها بمسؤولية، ونستمر في التواصل معهم كما قلت من خلال الاجتماعات التي ستجري مساء اليوم.
Dan Perry is joining me on the telecast. Dan, let's hear it from you with regards to this statement that has now been released by Qatar. You know, the key negotiator that is acceptable to United States of America and Israel and Hamas, so that Hamas is going to responsibly, this is what it has used, the term responsibly going to review this 20-point proposal and then come up with a response. Do you think at this point of time there is likelihood of peace being negotiated between both sides, and not in months and years, but in weeks?
This will show the degree to which Hamas is genuinely suicidal. We have here an interesting situation. Most of the world, maybe all the world with the exception of the Trump administration, is disgusted by the brutality of Israel's war in Gaza, but at the same time, most of the world is supportive of Israel's aims, which are the return of its hostages and the dismantling of Hamas as a governing and military power in Gaza. It's a little strange because they do support those goals. And at this point, those goals are supported not just by the U.S. and European powers, but also the entire Arab League, including Qatar, which is supposedly Hamas's ally. Now we will see what happens when Hamas is completely isolated. I can't guarantee that they'll accept this. The terms proposed are good for Israel and good for the Palestinian people and good for Gaza, but they're not necessarily great for Hamas because they're a surrender by Hamas. It amounts to the surrender that Hamas has been refusing to carry out for 2 years now and forcing Israel to go after them in a situation where civilians are being used as human shields, and Israel ends up being accused of all kinds of terrible crimes and its leaders indicted in The Hague. Hamas wants this. Hamas is indifferent to the suffering of its own people. I would say Hamas hates Israel much more than they love their own people. So can Qatar bring to bear enough pressure on Hamas to make them accept this, to make them say enough is enough, and we're going to lay down our arms and let in a transitional government and eventually the Palestinian Authority, who Hamas, kicked out of Gaza 18 years ago in a coup, essentially? I'm not so sure. On the other hand, their isolation is total. And I have to think they're eventually going to run out of money because Qatar is no longer, as far as I know, supplying them with money. It's conceivable they have other sources of income from China,
Yes.
Iran, who knows?
But then, what do you make of the very public apology that has been made by the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to the Qatari leadership? He says that he regrets the quote-unquote violation of Qatar's sovereignty by the Israeli Defense Forces, and he's vowed that Israel will never again conduct any strike on Qatar in the future.
It's all theatrics, and all of it is lies. I don't believe for a second that the U.S. did not know of the attack. I don't think Netanyahu would have carried out an attack on a country that hosts the largest U.S. airbase in for many thousands of miles all around without getting the green light from Trump. I'm not even completely sure Qatar didn't know about it, but it created a big embarrassment, and Netanyahu apologized because Trump made him do it. It's as simple as that. But of course, it wasn't done in public. It was done in a private phone call, creating a situation where they each can present a different narrative, and it's less humiliating than it otherwise might have been.
Okay. Dan, stay on with me. We have more information. Israelis in Jerusalem have been positive about President Trump's peace plan for Gaza. Israelis have said that the deal is one that the state of Israel can live with. However, Israelis also remain uncertain as to whether Hamas will accept the terms of the peace plan and dismantle their weapons after 2 years of fighting.
Great day for Israel. I don't see anyone from right to left who's going to go against it. The only question is now if Hamas will approve and end this misery that we are in it for almost 2 years.
I feel that whatever happens, we absolutely need to end the war and to bring the hostages home. I think this should have been done 2 years ago. I think we've done it way too late, with far too many deaths on both sides, our soldiers, our hostages, and the Gazan people. But I think it's a great move. I just wonder if Hamas will agree to dismantling their weapons and leaving Gaza. I mean, they've been fighting for 2 years to maintain their power. So I wonder if they will.
Israel's Foreign Minister Gideon Saar says that Israel remains committed to its war goals while accepting the US-Gaza peace plan. He warns Hamas may try to avoid implementing it. SAR's hopes for hostage releases and a demilitarized Gaza. Talks with Serbia also focus on cooperation in education, culture and diplomacy.
Accepted President Trump's plan for ending the war in Gaza and for a better future. It shouldn't surprise anyone because we always wanted to end this war. We always said that we are committed to the goals that we set, but we prefer to achieve them through diplomatic means. Today, too, we are committed to these goals, as set by our Security Cabinet. The one who refused to end the war until now is also the one that initiated it on October 7th, Hamas. And Hamas is solely responsible for its continuation since then and for the suffering of both Israelis and Palestinians during the past 2 years.
Dan stays with me on the telecast. Dan, conflicting statements. While there is the foreign ministry and of course the leadership led by Prime Minister Netanyahu, who have supported and accepted, acknowledged the recognition of the 20-point peace plan that was announced by President Trump. We also have the finance minister, Bezalel Smotrich, who has completely rejected this plan, this peace plan. Why are there conflicting statements being given within Netanyahu's leadership, within Netanyahu's cabinet?
Because there are conflicting schools of thought in Israel. The coalition contains a far-right element represented by Smotrich and another miscreant named Ben-Gvir, who basically dream of eternal occupation of Gaza, of finding a way to get the population to leave and to replace them with Jewish settlers. Now, that is by no means the policy of the actual government. It's certainly anathema to most of Israel, and it would be an absolute disaster. But that is what Smotrich wants. Smotrich is a religious fanatic and an ultra-nationalist. So the preference of Smotrich and Ben-Gvir to have the war continue against the will of most of the people of Israel is one possible reason why it's continued. It's widely thought in Israel that Netanyahu prolonged the war longer than he needed to, for fear that his coalition would otherwise fall apart. The thing is, elections have to be held within a year, and it's widely understood that because of other differences in the coalition, the government will soon collapse. So Netanyahu probably will have to face the voter, or if he runs again, in less than a year, probably something like 9 months. And he can't do that with great chances of success if the war is continuing. So I think his electoral logic flips from appeasing Ben-Gvir to keep the coalition together to actually walking away from that in favor of a more centrist and more peace-oriented platform in order to have any hope of winning the next election in Israel. The vast majority of the Israeli people are happy with this plan because it aligns with their goals. They get back the hostages, and Gaza and Hamas is not only removed from governance in Gaza, but is dismantled as a military force, and there's more than lip service given to the idea of de-radicalizing the Palestinians and forcing the Palestinian Authority as a condition to its restoration to Gaza to do reforms, which primarily mean the school curriculum, which oddly still teaches children to hate Jews and fight them, oddly. So this is complex, but you know what? The celebrations are a bit premature. It's like saying, this is great, I'm announcing the sale of my car, as long as the buyer agrees. Well, the buyer hasn't yet agreed. And if the buyer, Hamas, doesn't agree, and as I said before, that would be remarkable, given that they're completely isolated, but also not inconceivable. If they don't agree, then Trump has given Netanyahu carte blanche to ratchet up the war, which I don't think is what he wants necessarily, but I think is what may happen. And that is bad for everyone. Because Hamas will be crushed, Israeli soldiers will die, and there will be an insurgency for the next couple of years.
Okay, all right. Dan Perry, thank you very much for joining me and sharing your views on this subject. The Israeli Foreign Ministry has issued a statement on social media stating that Israel has discovered official Hamas documents in the Gaza Strip revealing links between Hamas and the leaders involved in the flotilla aid to Gaza. The ministry stated that the documents were discovered at a Hamas outpost in Gaza Strip. The Israeli ministry accused the Palestinian Conference for Palestinians Abroad, also called PCPA of serving under Hamas under the pretense of the civilian cover and being funded directly through Hamas. The first document released by the ministry is a letter from the then Hamas head of the political bureau, Ismail Haniyeh, calling on the PCPA chairman for unity and endorsing the organization. The second document contains a list of PCPA operatives, including Zahir Birawi, who has led demonstration flotillas to the Gaza Strip for the past 15 years. The ministry also accused the PCPA-aligned operatives of owning ships participating in the Sumud flotilla. Israel has consistently raised questions over the activists' intentions and has blockaded 8 flotillas sailing to Gaza. I have with me Keith Keith, welcome on the show, and of course your perspective with regards to the strong accusations that have been made, condemnation by global leaders for the flotillas that have been struck by the Israeli Defense Forces in the past several weeks and months. The Israeli government now coming up, releasing these documents. The Foreign Ministry claims that there is a strong Hamas link, and these flotillas that have been operating under the guise of sending humanitarian aid to Gazans are actually operating under the diktat of Hamas leaders. How do you have to react to that?
Well, I don't believe it. I don't believe that people like Greta Thunberg and the others on this flotilla are all involved in somehow trying to bolster the position of Hamas. I think the position of those who are on this flotilla, supported by 1 or 2 countries who are giving them safe passage, is to provide the humanitarian aid that so far has not been provided. There is an easy solution to this, of course, which is that in international waters, if they need to be searched, I'm sure that they will be very happy to allow other people to search them. After all, as we know, Hamas is in control of the Gaza Strip, and therefore one has to deal with them in the way in which we have outlined in the past, which is that these are people who clearly cannot be trusted and cannot be dealt with. So it seems very odd that in the Gaza Strip, Hamas should be writing letters to people in the flotilla. This is very old-fashioned to do something like that. Normally, you communicate by text or by WhatsApp. You don't write letters anymore. You don't. Why would anyone want to put in a document the fact that you are connected to them? Sounds very odd to me. I think the key thing is there is a flotilla.
The Israeli Foreign Ministry has forged these documents and releasing it and falsely claiming that the flotilla members and the organization that is heralding, is leading this operation are in fact in collusion with Hamas.
I have no idea. I have no idea who these documents are, how bizarrely in the middle of a war zone you're able to find documents. I can understand at the end of the regime in Iraq and the end of the regime in Libya, people were able to find documents relating to Saddam Hussein and Muammar Gaddafi because they were lying around in their presidential palaces. And, you know, why is this distraction being made? It's very easy to deal with why the flotilla is on its way and to find out whether it is carrying anything other than humanitarian aid. It's an easy thing to do. Isn't it the fact that the whole world wants humanitarian aid to arrive in Gaza, and the whole world, apart from America and the Israeli government, wants to have a ceasefire? Isn't that what the peace plan is all about? Trying to stop people killing each other.
Okay, all right. Keith, thanks for sharing your inputs. Stay on with me. We are going to shift our focus to the other war that has been continuing for years together. The Russian officials are now claiming fresh advances in eastern Ukraine. Denis Pushilin, who is the head of the Donetsk People's Republic, said that the Russian assault units are moving forward in several directions near Krasnoarmevsk. He also claimed that Russian forces are expanding control around the Dobropolian Bulge area, contrary to the Ukrainian military command's claims. Pushilin has said that the Ukrainian troops attempting to withdraw near the Kleban Bek reservoir were unsuccessful in the process. He added that the Russian forces continue pressing forward near Konstantinovka, pushing Ukrainian troops into more difficult positions. Meanwhile, reports also suggest that Russian forces have nearly encircled Ukrainian troops near Amboronev in Kharkiv region. Russian troops have also gained new positions near Khatine and Otradone after successful raids. Keith is back on the telecast with me. Keith, let's understand from you with regards to the change of heart, the change of tone of US President Donald Trump, and he made that statement at the UNGA in his speech that Ukraine is not only capable of taking back its territory, but some more. This is in direct contrast to what he has been stating in the past months, talking about how Ukraine may have to cede territory to ensure that there is peace that can be struck between both countries. Why do you think there has been this change of narrative by the US president?
You're absolutely right. This is a volte-face. This is a complete change. If you look at the big events as far as Ukraine and Trump are concerned over this year, there was the row in the Oval Office. There was the meeting in Alaska, and now there's this UN speech. And there's been a complete turnaround of what the Trump administration has been saying. So somewhere along the line, something has gone wrong that's upset Donald Trump. And as you know, that the president can get upset very easily. He's a very mercurial leader. So I would imagine the big change has been after Alaska, he expected something to happen. He expected Zelensky and Putin to be able to get around a table together. But I think that he lost in Alaska. He lost in the Oval Office. He certainly lost public opinion. And so he's trying to climb back and to a position that will mean that America has some kind of influence. Let me be very clear. I think that the only country that can sort the problem out in Ukraine and Russia, as well as in the Middle East, is the United States of America. It is the most powerful nation on earth. It has got the biggest economy in the world. It is the only country can do this. But he seems reluctant to do what he has to do in order to make sure that that happens. And I don't understand why. He has it within his grasp. This is a man who can put on tariffs on 154 countries overnight. But he has it in his grasp, and he keeps changing his position on Ukraine.
Okay.
What has happened? I don't know.
Okay, all right. Keith, thank you very much for joining me and sharing your views. I'm going to shift my focus to the other developments. Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov has now called Moldova's recent parliamentary elections fraudulent and blatantly manipulated. Speaking on Tuesday, Lavrov accused election officials of rigging the process in favor of the ruling PAS party. His comments echoed former President Igor Dodon's, leader of the Socialist Party, who claimed PAS actually lost inside Moldova and only held on to power because of the overwhelming support from the Moldovans voting abroad. The elections were held on 28th of September with polling stations open across the country and more than 300 sites operating overseas. The ruling PAS, led by President Maya Sandu, has not yet responded to Moscow's accusations, which further strain relations between Moldova and Russia. Typhoon Bualoy has now devastated Vietnam, killing at least 26 people and leaving over 20 missing. Streets of Hanoi have been flooded, wreaking havoc on homes, infrastructure and farmland and causing disruptions to motorists and pedestrians. The Vietnamese government has evacuated tens of thousands of residents from over 10 coastal provinces. The government also sent all fishing vessels back to ports. Earlier, the Civil Aviation Authority of Vietnam had also suspended flights at several airports as part of emergency measures.